We're talking to attorney Michael McDonald, and the topic is racism, diversity, and tolerance. And of course, Attorney McDonald, we promised before the end of the last segment that we give you an opportunity to talk about racism, diversity, and tolerance during this segment. And what we'd like to say is that one of the major issues, we believe, has to do with the very fact in this country that we've undergone a period of separation and segregation legally, and as you undoubtedly know, and that now, since 1954, we're talking about the other item that you wish to talk about, and that's diversity. How does all of that fit in together?
Well, as you've already indicated, the desegregation of the public schools in the United States represented a major milestone in terms of inclusiveness. But as you also know, the military was very instrumental in terms of breaking down barriers of race even prior to the Brown decision. But to think, for example, that the first professional athletes to ever room together that were black and white occurred sometime during the 1964-65, Gail Sayers and Brian Piccolo. That really was not that long ago. And so when you think about issues of racism and race and inclusiveness, it is still a very ripe issue. Education is one of those areas where it is critical for everyone to start on equal footing, and the whole idea that under Plessy versus Ferguson, which occurred in the late 1800s, which said that separate but equal was constitutional, really put Negroes at a disadvantage in many ways. So, there's discussions about reparations, discussions about bringing people that have been disenfranchised to a point where they can have equal footing. Those are issues that relate to inclusiveness and what's fair and issues of tolerance. This country has a history of embracing people from different backgrounds, immigrants who came over and arrived at Ellis Island during the turn of the century, the last century. The ideology of so many of the real Americans, which are the Native American Indians, and all the diversity that exists just within those various tribes, have really been influential in helping us understand issues of diversity. When we talk about diversity and tolerance, what we're saying is that it is important to respect and to appreciate the differences that someone else may have. You may not actually accept it, you may not believe in it, you may have a completely different ideology, but there must be room for us to accept differences, because if we don't have a tolerance for differences, then what it does is that it erodes the fiber and the fabric of our democracy. There always has to be room for minority opinions.
And so you would say that America is better off since Brown 1954?
Yes, I would take the position that the country as a whole is much better off. There still are pockets of discrimination and issues of economic imbalance when it comes to funding for school systems. The whole idea that some school systems or school districts have a much stronger tax base, and as a result they can do other things that maybe some of the more weaker economically tax-based school districts cannot. But once those issues are addressed, you still have the one-on-one concern of what happens with pupils and kids as they're going through the hallways. The whole idea that some young people see it as a stigma to be smart and intelligent. And the whole idea that for some reason in pockets of our society that being smart is somehow bad. Those are the types of issues of tolerance we're talking about. Issues related to a person's weight. The whole idea that in a society we have this image of the ideal person, and the fact that what someone weighs is no reflection of who they are and their worth as a person. One of the most promising programs that I've seen is been sponsored by the Southern Poverty Law Project. They have a website that is properly entitled Tolerance Inc. And Tolerance Inc. Keeps track of various issues regarding tolerance, and it's one that I would recommend to your viewing audience if they want to get a better understanding about tolerance?
You know, we don't often have an opportunity, I think, Attorney McDonald, to talk about tolerance and diversity and racism and these as topics. I mean, I think people act these out, but in terms of coming to a real discussion in reference to what would you suggest that we ought to do as perhaps as a state or as a nation or whatever in order to bring about a greater discussion of the issues that we're talking about now?
Well, first of all, I believe it starts, you know, with us individuals. Let there, you know, there's the song that says, "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me." This whole idea that we have to look within ourselves and realize that there are gray areas, gray spots in our own lives that we must address when it comes to issues of discrimination. When we talk about discrimination, that's really an outward expression of prejudice, where you've based your opinion on an entire group upon one experience that you've had with someone that is a member of that group. And that is so unfair, but that's what happens. When we talk about tolerance, what we're saying is that it is inappropriate and very dangerous to base your opinion about a group as a whole on what one member of that group has or may or may not have done.
Well, now, you know, this whole thing of tolerance, would you tie these concepts of one group being superior and inferior to other groups, would that be a part of tolerance?
Oh, yes, it would be a part of it. I mean, for example, the Nazi activity and during World War II and the complete annihilation of over 6-7 million Jews because of political beliefs that were embraced by some individuals in Germany at the time. Not all of them, but some Germans. And this whole fear of what would happen if there is, in fact, this Zionist state in Western Europe. So, yes, I would say that there is this perception, or at least this advocacy by some people that says that there is a superior group, and as a result, if you're saying that there's a superior group, then there must be someone that is inferior.
And of course, to base an entire policy upon that, as the Germans did at one time, was simply disastrous for everybody. And I think that in a real sense, it's something that we certainly would like to try to avoid again. And I think the best way to avoid something like that is to get into a real discussion as we are having now. And of course, we'll be back with our audience after this very, very short commercial break. Attorney McDonald